Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there was a beautiful garden filled with the most colorful flowers you could ever imagine. This garden was special because it was watched over by a tiny, magical creature known as the Bee Fairy. The Bee Fairy was no ordinary fairy. She had golden wings that sparkled in the sunlight and a tiny wand that looked like a honey stick. Her job was to take care of all the bees in the garden and make sure the flowers bloomed bright and strong. One day, while the Bee Fairy was fluttering around, she noticed something strange. The flowers were starting to droop, and the bees seemed sad. They weren't buzzing happily like they usually did. The Bee Fairy knew something was wrong. She flew over to the biggest sunflower in the garden, where the oldest and wisest bee, Buzzbee, lived. "Buzzbee, what's happening?" the Bee Fairy asked with concern in her tiny voice. Buzzbee sighed. "Oh, dear Bee Fairy, something is wrong with the magic pollen. The flowers aren't getting enough of it, and the bees are too tired to gather what little is left." The Bee Fairy thought hard. She needed to find a way to bring back the magic to the garden. Suddenly, she remembered a legend she had heard from the elder fairies. It was said that deep in the heart of the enchanted forest, there was a hidden bloom called the golden blossom. This blossom was so powerful that just one drop of its nectar could restore the magic to an entire garden. Without wasting a moment, the Bee Fairy set off on her journey. She flew over sparkling rivers, through tall trees, and finally reached the enchanted forest. The forest was thick and dark, but the Bee Fairy's golden wings lit up the path. After what felt like hours of searching, the Bee Fairy finally found the golden blossom. It was more beautiful than she had ever imagined, glowing with a light that seemed to come from the stars themselves. Carefully, she collected a drop of its nectar in her honey stick wand. As she flew back to the garden, she noticed the flowers starting to fade even more, and the bees were barely buzzing at all. The Bee Fairy knew she had to act quickly.